Welcome back to Demolition Worker. Today we inside the belly of a beast to dismantle a massive submarine torpedo room. This is episode 43. We are granting you unprecedented access to witness the systematic destruction of the primary weapons bay. For decades, this steel chamber remained shrouded in absolute secrecy. Now our heavy machinery will tear down its highly classified walls. Shining stainless steel torpedo tubes are still perfectly intact. These lethal delivery systems must be carefully extracted from the pressure hull. Look at the incredible complexity of this engineering marvel. Countless hydraulic lines and mechanical gears powered the silent underwater launch sequence. First, we deploy specialized cutting torches to sever the main structural supports holding the massive launch tubes firmly in their place. Bright sparks illuminate the claustrophobic space as industrial plasma cutters slice through thick military-grade steel with terrifying speed and precision. The intense heat melts away decades of rust and protective coatings. Toxic fumes are quickly extracted by our heavy ventilation systems. Workers navigate carefully through the extremely narrow corridors. Every single movement requires absolute precision to avoid catastrophic structural failures during demolition. Giant overhead cranes are positioned directly above the exposed hull section. They prepare to lift the incredibly heavy automatic loading devices. Heavy chains are secured around the primary loading mechanism. The sheer scale of these mechanical components is absolutely breathtaking to witness. The crane operator slowly applies tension to the massive lifting cables. The entire submarine hull groans under the immense upward pressure. A deafening crack echoes through the shipyard as the rusty bolts finally give way. The giant loading tray begins to rise. Slowly, the mechanical beast is pulled from its dark metallic cave. Decades of military history are hoisted directly into the sunlight. The claustrophobia inside the weapons bay is immediately relieved as the ceiling is ripped open. Natural light floods the dark interior. Now we must focus on the actual torpedo tubes. These beautifully machined cylinders are constructed from the highest grade stainless steel. Workers use heavy-duty impact wrenches to loose the massive retaining nuts. Each bolt requires tremendous physical effort to completely remove. The sound of clashing metal reverberates through the narrow space. It is a chaotic symphony of systematic destruction and industrial power. Hydraulic shears are brought in to cut through the remaining titanium pipes. The jaws crush the strong metal with absolute ease. Water and residual oil spill onto the grated floor as the main pressure lines are finally severed by the powerful shears. We are now looking at the breech doors of the torpedo tubes. These massive steel hatches, once sealed against immense pressure, sparks fly in every direction as angle grinders cut through the heavy bronze hinges. The sparks create a beautiful visual display. The first breech door falls heavily onto the metal deck. A loud thud shakes the entire structural foundation of the submarine. Inside the empty tube, we can see the rifling grooves. These precisely machined channels guided the deadly weapons toward their targets. A specialized extraction rig is bolted directly to the first tube. We must pull it straight out to avoid structural damage. The hydraulic winch begins to pull with incredible force. The long steel cylinder slides out of its housing with a screech. This agonizing sound of metal scraping against metal is incredibly intense. It highlights the extreme friction within the tight mechanical tolerances. The first torpedo tube is finally completely free from the hull. It swings gently back and forth on the crane cables. Workers quickly guide the massive cylinder toward the designated scrap pile. This valuable stainless steel will eventually be completely melted down. One down and several more to go. The demolition crew moves seamlessly to the next target in the dark weapons bay. We shift our attention to the complex firing control panels. These electronic brains once coordinated the entire underwater tactical launch sequence. Crowbars are used to pry the heavy consoles away from the curved bulkhead. Tangled wires are brutally ripped from their sockets. Shattered glass from the analog pressure gauges falls completely to the floor. The old technology is utterly destroyed without any hesitation. Copper wiring is separated from the main electronic components. This highly valuable conductive material will be carefully sorted for future recycling. The removal of the control panels exposes the bare ribs of the submarine. The true skeleton of this mechanical leviathan appears. Now the second torpedo tube is being prepped for immediate extraction. The crew works faster now that they know the process. Plasma cutters slice through the secondary mounting brackets. Molten slag drips down into the dark abyss of the lower bilge area. The crane takes the heavy load once again. The second tube slides out much smoother than the first one ever did. It is fascinating to watch such a sophisticated weapon system being dismantled. What was once terrifying is now just scrap metal. The space inside the torpedo room is becoming significantly larger. The claustrophobic feeling is slowly fading away with every removed piece. We are now tackling the high-pressure air storage tanks. These thick steel spheres provided the explosive force to launch torpedoes. Safety protocols are strictly followed here. Even though they are empty, the massive tanks must be handled with extreme professional care. Industrial reciprocating saws cut through the thick mounting straps. The loud grinding noise is absolutely deafening inside the empty echo chamber. The first air tank is rolled carefully out of its tight cradle. It is surprisingly heavy despite being completely hollow inside. Forklift carefully maneuvers through the debris-filled corridor to transport the heavy steel sphere directly to the waiting scrap truck. By removing these bulky components, the demolition team gains better access to the deepest corners of the primary forward weapons bay. The floor grating is completely removed to expose the complex piping network underneath. It looks like the veins of a monster. Workers use heavy sledgehammers to smash the brittle cast iron valves. Each powerful strike sends sharp metal fragments flying everywhere around. The destructive energy in this confined space is truly palpable. Every shattered pipe represents the final death of this military machine. We are halfway through the demolition of the torpedo room. The transformation from a deadly arsenal to an empty shell continues. The third torpedo tube is now firmly secured to the crane. The lifting process begins with a loud and terrifying groan. This tube is slightly stuck due to severe corrosion. The crane operator must carefully rock the massive load back and forth. Suddenly, the rust breaks free with a massive explosive sound. The heavy steel cylinder jerks violently upward into the bright sky. Dust and debris rain down on the tired workers below. They quickly step back to avoid the swinging pendulum of steel. The third tube is safely lowered onto the waiting flatbed trailer. The massive truck bounces heavily under the sudden extreme weight. Only one final torpedo tube remains inside the dark hull. The crew is highly motivated to finish this challenging extraction process. We bring in the largest hydraulic excavator for this final task. Its massive steel claw easily reaches deep into the submarine. The excavator jaw clamps down hard on the last tube. The incredible crushing force slightly bends the thick stainless steel casing. With a powerful pull, the machine tears the entire tube assembly directly out of the mounting frame in one violent motion. The sheer brutality of the heavy machinery is awe-inspiring. It reduces decades of careful engineering to twisted metal in seconds. The torpedo room is now completely empty of its primary weapons. Only the complex loading rails and structural frames currently remain. We begin cutting down the heavy steel rail system. These tracks once guided the heavy torpedoes smoothly into the firing chambers. Long sections of steel track are severed using acetylene torches. The intense bright flames easily slice through the thick metal supports. Glowing red-hot metal pieces fall heavily to the deck. The intense heat radiates throughout the entirely empty forward weapons compartment. The excavator returns to scoop up the heavy loose debris. Its metal bucket scrapes loudly against the bare steel hull plating. This scraping sound is incredibly harsh and completely unforgiving. It is the perfect audio representation of this violent industrial demolition process. We are now looking at the bare pressure hull. The thick circular steel ribs are fully exposed to the outside elements. These massive structural rings kept the ocean from crushing the submarine. Now they are just waiting to be cut into pieces. Massive shear attachment is fitted to the heavy excavator. It is designed to cut through thick steel like simple paper. The giant hydraulic jaws bite into the first structural rib. The incredibly thick steel bends and snaps with a loud bang. The entire front section of the submarine begins to collapse. Without the internal supports, the heavy outer hull loses its shape. Huge slabs of the outer casing are violently torn away. The dark torpedo room is completely open to the bright sunlight. It is a surreal sight to see this secretive space completely exposed. The ultimate demolition of the submarine is almost complete. Workers move in to gather the smaller remaining scrap pieces. Every single pound of valuable metal will be carefully recovered today. The shiny stainless steel from the torpedo tubes is separated. It represents the most highly valuable material recovered from this project. Mountains of twisted steel and broken wires surround the dry dock. This chaotic scene is the beautiful result of our hard work. The dismantling of the weapons bay was an incredible challenge. The tight spaces and heavy components tested our skills and patience, but the successful extraction of the torpedo tubes is deeply satisfying. We conquered the complex mechanical systems of this underwater beast. The loud sounds of clashing metal have finally stopped completely. The shipyard is surprisingly quiet after days of intense industrial destruction. We take a final look at the empty forward section. Where deadly weapons once rested, there is now only empty space. The structural skeleton of the submarine looks like a whale, a giant metallic creature that has been completely picked clean today. This demolition project has provided a truly unique historical perspective. We saw the hidden mechanical guts of a Cold War warrior. The precision engineering of the automatic loading devices was impressive. It is a testament to the brilliant minds that designed them. However, seeing them reduced to scrap metal is equally fascinating. It shows the unstoppable power of modern heavy industrial demolition equipment. All the recovered materials will be sent to the foundry. They will be completely melted down and repurposed for new construction. The legacy of this powerful submarine will continue in new forms. Its strong steel will build the towering skyscrapers of tomorrow. We have completely finished clearing the entire forward torpedo room. The area is now ready for the final hull dismantling phase. Thank you for joining us on this incredible demolition journey. Witnessing the destruction of such complex machinery is a rare privilege. We hope you enjoyed the dramatic sights and intense sounds. The complete destruction of the weapons bay was truly an adventure. This concludes our mission for today. Thanks for watching, Demolition Worker. Please subscribe for more epic destruction, and see you next time.